What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. We're going to be discussing The Wild Robot. The film tells the story of a robot named Rosum, Ross for short, that is shipwrecked on a island and must learn to adapt to the harsh surroundings, gradually building relationships with the animals on the island and becoming the adoptive parent of an orphaned gosling.
So what are you going to name him?
I assign to you, Gosling. 0001.
Okay, that sucked.
That sucks.
You gotta learn to make stuff up. Come on, find that woo inside you. Anything yet?
Now, I went into this movie really excited because the director of this movie is the voice of Stitch, and he wrote How to Train Your Dragon, so this was going to be one of my most anticipated films of the year, and seeing the early reactions of this movie, I knew that I was going to be going into this movie expecting something that was probably going to break me down, because as I was looking at my to-do list, crying was definitely not on the to-do list, and that's exactly what I did for about 90 minutes, because this movie isn't just a perfect animated movie. It is a perfect movie, period. This is probably going to end up being my favorite film of the year. There were so many emotions in here that I was just feeling throughout the entire film, and even after watching the movie, I've not been able to stop crying for the past 2 hours, and I'm just an emotional wreck right now because DreamWorks did something that DreamWorks hasn't done in quite a while, and that is rip my heart out and showed it to me. I am a big mama's boy. I love my mom to death, and I know that growing up I was probably the biggest POS that ever existed, but as I grow older and I look back at my youth, I appreciate my mom being there for whenever I needed her. She's my best friend. I talk to her every single day. I would not be here today if it wasn't for her. She is my best friend. She is somebody that I talk to about everything, whether I'm down in the dumps or I'm talking about the smallest things that to her are probably the biggest things that I've ever done. I talk to my mom every single day. She is my best friend, and watching this movie, there is a piece of me that wishes that she was right next to me while I was watching this movie, because the entire time that I was watching this movie, I was really wishing that she was next to me. But at the same time, there's that little piece of myself that I'm so glad that she was not next to me, because I would have been a bigger emotional wreck than I already am. This movie hits you on a very personal level, especially if you are somebody that loves your mom, or if you have kids, hold them tight, because you will never know when the last time you're going to be able to talk to them will be. And this movie makes you laugh till you cry and cry till you laugh. That is the best way that I can put this movie, because it is a beautiful journey that this movie takes you on. It's a mix of a lot of different things. It's a coming of age story. It's a fish out of water story. It's a lot of these stories coming together. And I know this movie is based on a very popular book. I did not grow up reading the books. Quite frankly, I didn't know that these were books to begin with. The thing that makes this movie absolutely perfect is just the characters and the journey that you go on, because what we have here is, on one hand, we have a fish out of water story. We have this robot played by Lupita Nyong'o that washes ashore on this island, and all the animals around her are pretty much scared of her. They think of her as a monster. They don't know what she is because she fell out of the sky. And so she's kind of inhabiting this island. She's trying to get familiar with all the animals, while at the same time they're all judging her because of what she is, and they think that she has come to the island to kill them all. And while trying to learn the language of these animals and trying to be able to communicate with them, she comes across this little baby gosling that she has to take care of, because all of his family are pretty much dead. She is the first thing that this little baby sees, and so she gets emotionally attached to her, and at the same time she's trying to figure out how to be a mother because that is not really part of her programming. She has a lot of programming that she has to go through, but being a mother is not one of them. So she runs across a possum mother that has 7 kids. That is one side of the emotions that this movie really tackles on. It tackles on trying to be a mother, but at the same time be an adoptive mother because she doesn't know exactly where she's going to go. Once she isn't delivered to the place that she's supposed to go to, she tries to get sent back to the factory where she came from in order to be sent to a different location or different place. And so while trying to really get back to where she's coming from, she basically takes on the mother figure and raises this baby gosling with the help of a fox played by Pedro Pascal. And so we're going on this beautiful journey, and the characters are really what you're really attached to because even once we get to this little baby gosling and she's trying to help him fly, swim, and be able to migrate, trying to prepare him to migrate and really take on this task of being a mother. Once we get into the last half of this movie, which is the baby Gosling now being a teenager trying to fit into his own little population in order for him to migrate for the winter, and this robot trying to help him out, that is where a lot of the emotions for me basically come out, and that is where the coming of age story comes out because you have this little baby Gosling that has never really been around his kind. He's always been around Roz and trying to be like her, but at the same time doesn't really know what happened to his family. So seeing all that transpire was just absolutely beautiful to see. Pedro Pascal as the fox that helps raise this little baby Gosling with Roz is something that I was really on the fence about because when I saw the trailer, the second trailer for this movie, where we had a little bit more of the voice actors kind of getting a little bit more of the plot of what the movie was actually going to be, once I heard Pedro Pascal's voice come out of the Fox, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about that. But once the movie settles in and you get adjusted to these characters, that is where he becomes the second part of this heart in helping Ross trying to raise this little baby Gosling, trying to be there for them. And he has probably some of the best moments in the movie because a lot of the humor that happens is pretty much by him. A lot of there is some adult humor in here that comes out through Pedro Pascal, and that is where the charm and the beauty of this movie really comes down to. Also the beautiful animation that we have here. All the colors are really vibrant and lived in. You really do feel like you are a part of this island with all these animals and seeing how they all live, how they all interact with each other. That was really beautiful to see. The story here revolving around motherhood is really is something that is going to be hitting with a lot of people, especially with people like me who are big mama's boys. I This movie just absolutely wrecked me. There are a lot of funny moments in here, but what Chris Sanders does beautifully is he injects a lot of heart in this movie. When you are not really expecting to be attached to any of these characters, but the way that he constructs this movie and the way that it's written in a such a beautiful way that it would probably be a really daunting task for anybody else to really take this on because he is the writer behind How to Train Your Dragon, and that is probably one of my favorite trilogies of all time. He started that. He didn't do the last two, but the first movie was one of the biggest surprises that I had in 2010, and this movie is one of the biggest surprises that I've had in 2024 because I really didn't expect this movie to hit me on such an emotional level. But even after watching the movie and coming out of it and crying my way home, I'm still trying to hold back my emotions. This movie just absolutely destroyed me. I was crying from beginning to end, and 2 hours later, 3 hours later, I'm still sitting here trying to hold it all together because This movie will hit you on such an emotional level, especially if you are a parent or somebody that is going to be a parent soon. This movie is going to resonate you on a lot of different levels, and that's exactly what this movie did for me. It hit all the right emotional beats. It hit all the character moments, even some of the supporting characters from Catherine O'Hara to Mark Hamill to Matt Berry. There are just a lot of these supporting characters, and I really love the overall message that this movie has. I absolutely love this movie. It's definitely going to probably end up being my favorite film of the year. And I thought the Oscar race for Best Animated Film was going to be just shipped off to Inside Out 2. As much as I love that movie, I am really hoping that The Wild Robots takes the gold from Inside Out 2, because on an emotional level, I think this movie hit me more in my feels than Inside Out 2, uh, more than Inside Out 2 did. But if you have kids, call your mom, call your siblings, call your family members, let them know you love them, let them know how much you care about them. Talk to them every day if you possibly can, because we are on borrowed time. We don't know when our last breath is going to be, and before I get emotional, I'm just going to leave it right there. But overall, The Wild Robot is most definitely a vibe in theaters, and when it comes out on DVD or on streaming, definitely rush out and buy it, because it's going to be one hell of a journey. If you're able to see it in theaters, check it out in theaters, support this movie. It's probably going to end up being my favorite film of the year. But those are my thoughts on The Wild Robot. Have you guys checked it out? Did it destroy you as much as it did to me? Go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want, let me know what is your favorite moment that you have with your mom.